we got to look back on, and I think Mom and Dad did as well, got to look back on, man, if we can go through that, what can't we go through? But if you give up in the midst of that struggle, you don't get the privilege of coming down the other side of the mountain and going, oh, look what we overcame. Yeah. Look what we got over. And I think that I hope people will be able to see it in this film. It's like, hey, maybe my family could do that.
Good evening, good evening. You look lovely. This is a pretty full house tonight.
It is a full house. So we had a chance to talk earlier today, and I have to say, I've talked with a few famous people over the years, and you never know. You just never know.
I actually said to Luke when we were walking up, I was like, gee, Adam was a bit cold at first when we first showed up, and now we're like best mates.
Exactly. It was like we've known each other our whole lives. And
it's because we like rock music.
It's
Striper.
It's Striper,
you know.
And there's any Striper fans? Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
It's very early.
So I only say that because I felt like there was just an instant rapport, and I think that just speaks to who you guys are. And I love that. And so tonight we're going to watch Unsung Hero, and we have an opportunity to hear from you guys what the movie's all about. And we talk about stories. I want to know the story behind the story. How did this movie come to be?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we're not famous. We're your friend, all right?
Okay.
So we can get that straight.
That.
But about 12 years ago was when For King and Country started getting going. And I was originally born in Australia. Hopefully you can still tell. The truth is, you Americans have jacked up my accent. Thanks.
Mostly the ones in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, mostly those.
Yeehaw.
But born in Australia, and my dad was a concert promoter in Australia, and on one particular tour that he brought back to Australia, the tour didn't go very well, and we lost everything that we had as a family. We lost the house, we lost the car, we lost the life savings, and so my dad was looking for a fresh start for his career.
Don't blow the film, Luke. They're about to watch it.
I know. I'm giving you a little, it's called context.
Okay. It gives
setting
them that
the stage.
too.
I'm setting the stage. So anyway, we come to America. You're going to see that in a moment. And we struggle as a family. I'm not going to go into any more detail other than that. And I've shared that story, some iteration of that story for the last 12 years at virtually every show that we have performed. And so I had this kind of epiphany, like, maybe people would hear the story and they would come up and they would say, hey, why don't you guys write a book? And the truth is, Joel and I were homeschooled, so we don't read or write very well. And
shout out to the homeschoolers. We got you, particularly on my left side.
That's a joke, all right? I've got a lot of mileage out of that one, let me tell you. But anyway, and so we thought, well, what if we make a movie instead? And I had a friend in LA, and so I called him up and I pitched him this idea. I just said, hey man, there's something about this story, my family story, what do you think? And he said, hey, let's put it into development. And a lot of films don't get made. You put them into development, a lot of scripts, they float around for many, many years, and most don't get made. And the truth is, the real heartbeat behind it is I think family is more valuable today than it ever has been in the history of the world, yet we do not value family as such. And Mother Teresa has a wonderful quote that says, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And that's really the heartbeat behind the why of making this movie.
All right. Well, I saw the movie this week, and I cried. And actually, I think we have at least a little bit of Kleenex floating around out there, because there are going to be moments.
I heard every other row.
There are going to be moments where you identify. And there are moments that are inspirational, but there are also moments where we see struggle. And I think we're going to see your dad, David, played by you. Was it weird to play your dad?
I have dubbed it a very expensive therapy session.
We're going to see him have a good kind of pride and maybe a bad kind of pride.
I loved how you said that. We just did a podcast earlier today, and I thought that was such a sort of light and shadow way of putting it.
Yeah. And so that was a scene that touched me, and I just was curious. You guys were there watching your dad and your mom go through this struggle, and your mom is sort of the rock, and your dad's having a hard time. How did you guys process that as a family? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, as you said, Adam, and Luke said, it's a family film for sure, but it's also very much a film about mums or moms.
Yeah, it's with an O, not a U.
How do you say it?
Mom.
You sound like a herd of sheep. It's nice. It circles around mums, and it circles around miracles. It circles around local community. Circles around the local church. But yeah, our dad, who managed our sister Rebecca and James, and is a shout out. You got it. He really, it was a traumatic time for him. And I have to be honest and confess, I've been pretty lazy with our parents' story, particularly my dad's story growing up. You just kind of you're like, man, why do you act, why does this stuff trigger you? And you don't search for context. You don't go back and put yourself in the 90s in this case, and put yourself in migrating with 6 kids and 1 on the way, and losing everything, and all of the complexities and the failures that and how much that imprints on you, and how much you want to protect, and how much you want to step in. And so it was a really profound time, for me to explore his journey. He gave me a great compliment along the way where he said, you externalized a lot of what I felt internally at the time. And so, yeah, it's certainly the Marvel multiverse has nothing on the Smallbone multiverse, because it's like I'm playing my dad, I'm looking at me, but that's my son. This is my mum, but it's not my mum, but I'm kissing my mum. It's like,
That might have been a little too much, huh?
You're right.
Yeah, we might have to call that out in the review. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can. You can.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, but look, we're awfully proud. This is the definition of a passion project for Luke and me. And what I love is that it's not really about us. This is an honor project for mum and dad. This is an honor project for family. And we saw miracles, but it's a story of miracles for sure. We saw so many miracles on the other side of the camera too. And one of them I shared with you earlier was that the release date is April the 26th. And a few days after, Lionsgate picked the date, and we went to our mum and we said, hey, do you know that the film's releasing on April 26th? And she said, oh, that's our 49th wedding anniversary, right?
She sounds exactly like that, actually.
To which I replied, yes.
Just like we planned it, right?
That's why we did it, Mum. But I did the math. That's a you would think at first glance that's a 1 in 365 chance. But a Friday is when films release, and a Friday falls on the 26th of April every 7 years. So it's a 2,555 to 1 chance. And I just thought it's been laced with these beautiful, I call them God winks along the way.
We've talked a little bit about failure as a theme and pride. What would you guys say are some of the other main themes as they connect with families? Because all of our families are imperfect in their own weird, beautiful ways, right? What do families take away from this movie?
I hope that they see that their families, if families are going through really struggle and a lot of struggle and a lot of hardship, that there's still hope in that there's still, those moments can be redeemed, that those moments can be used for good. My mom used to say something to me when I was growing up. She used to say, look, I don't really care how you behave when everything's going your way. I care about how you behave when everything's going against you. And I think for my parents, I actually got to see everything go against them, and they became fortified. They became stronger. Now, it doesn't mean it was without conflict. They had their moments. But I think that we got to look back on, and I think mom and dad did as well, got to look back on, man, if we can go through that, What can't we go through? But if you give up in the midst of that struggle, you don't get the privilege of coming down the other side of the mountain and going, oh, look what we overcame. Yeah. Look what we got over. And I think that I hope people will be able to see it in this film. It's like, hey, maybe my family could do that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I could become a better dad, maybe a better mom, better brother or sister.
Yeah. You know, as we watch the movie, we'll see that your characters are quite young here. And one of the questions I had watching it was, how much were you aware of how desperate things really were? Because it was, as an adult, you realize, this is hard.
It's a really good question, Adam, and I'm really proud. You know, a lot of these films, they are based on a true story or inspired by a true story. And I remember when we started developing the story, it was the fall of 2020. We were on a drive-in tour. We did what they call breaking the story. All had marks on. We were sitting around a table at Hampton Inn, and the screen
in Iowa, right?
In Iowa. Your birth.
I'm from Iowa, so I got to represent.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense now. It all makes a lot more sense.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, it's coming together.
But we were sitting around the table, and Mum and Dad were there, and we were kind of telling the beats of the story to Richard Ramsey, who I co-wrote it with, and he looked over at Dad and he said, "David, I'm just so sorry that you had to go through this. But what a great story!" and it is very. We actually plucked out the inspired by or the based on because it just is a true story. It's very close to the way things took place, even down to the contradiction of when you looked at the brass tacks of the moment as kids. We did not have. You were on the other side of the world from your family. No insurance, no car, no furniture, not knowing where the next meal.
Don't give away the film,
Joel.
Come on now.
Sorry.
It's a film of struggle.
And yet, we felt so safe as kids. Like, I don't really feel trauma from that time.
Yeah, that really comes through in the movie, that even in the midst of the hardship, there was a deep joy.
It was an adventure.
And it was an adventure. Yeah. I love that. Do you guys have a favorite scene or a favorite moment in the movie?
Yeah, I mean, they're about to watch it, though, you know? So,
sorry.
I mean,
spoiler warning? I work for PluggedIn. I spoil stuff for a living. So.
I'll go vague. There's a scene towards the end where my mother is trying to just rally the family, and my dad's going through something, and she's trying to rally the family, and she goes to a park, and Mom in this scene she plays with all the kids. There's this great joy. And then she gives kind of an impassioned speech as to why we're not going back to Australia and all of the things that are taking place there. And that's probably one of my favorite scenes, because I think that we're, all of us in our families are given moments to retreat back to bad habits, retreat back to the way things were. And it's when we forge ahead as a family that there's a brighter future. And I think that scene kind of encapsulates, I think, a lot of what we hope for as a family. Like, hey, we're gonna stick together. We're gonna make it through this. And that moment is just one of those heartwarming moments where I remember not having maybe that exact speech, but my mom living that, our mom teaching us that, and I think we're forever thankful for that.
Yeah, I mean, she's amazing in her intentionality, and that's one of the things we talk about at Focus on the Family, is just the importance of being intentionally engaged. And even when she was very close to the end of her rope, she didn't let that, sink her. And there are moments where your dad's a little closer to sinking, I think, without giving too much away. Okay, I've given too much away. I'm sorry.
All right,
it's a
guys,
great
we
movie.
don't need to actually play the film anymore. Thanks so much for coming. Enjoy the popcorn.
Joel, did you have a favorite scene?
I'm going to, I'll give you a very brief one, because I know we've got 1 minute and 47 seconds.
Let's not waste it, though.
It involves the breaking of a fax machine. I'll just say that. And the context is, there's a load of kids in the film, and there's so much. Film is a symphony of the score, of the acting, of the moment, and there are these pivotal moments where you just know, if this doesn't work, the film falls apart. And it was one of those moments that, it was a very frustrating day on set, but everything worked. It was 7 kids, 1 infant. All of us were in the whole scene. And the cinematography, the focus pull, the scoring, it all it all worked. So I do want to say to all of you, though, on behalf of Luke and me and our whole family, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
This is, like I said, it's a definition of a passion project for us. We've really enjoyed over the last decade being part of your life, being part of your soundtrack. We always feel so loved by you. But I said to Adam earlier, for someone to take an hour and 40 minutes of your life, to take a night out of your life, and to watch a film, it's really moving for us. So thank you for being here. You've honored us with your presence, and I hope you moved. I really do. I hope you're entertained. And I hope, ladies, I hope you feel deeply seen in it. There are a lot of faith films that focus a lot on us as men, and you kind of become the ancillary characters. But one of the things we took a lot of pride in, we are sons of a powerful mother. We are brothers to two powerful sisters. We are husbands to two creative and courageous women. And this was an opportunity for us as men to raise you up. And so I hope you feel seen. Men, I hope you feel challenged. I hope you feel challenged to step up and step out and love your wives and lay down your life for them and be an awesome father or be an awesome son. And we're just excited to go on this journey with you. I will say we are going to dub you our Colorado Unsung Hero advocates after tonight. And so all that you can do, grab a ticket, grab a friend, tell a friend, buy out a theater. We would love to partner with you and stay in contact over the next 7 weeks. But we've taken up a lot of your time, unless you have other questions, Adam.
I was just going to ask if Luke had a last word here.
Well, it just keeps going the
I know,
wrong
we're
direction.
negative
You know what I'm
48.
saying? I mean,
Minus 50 seconds.
I don't know what the rules
I'm actually
are.
being fined
And
for
it's
every
red
second we're
right
over.
now.
I just keep getting scared of the Lionsgate security guard. You know, John Wick's got me terrified. No, I mean, look, I think we've hinted at some of these things, but I don't say these things because we're at focus on the family. But I think the family has generational consequences for the better and for the worse. And for all of us here, we're all part of a family, whether or not it's our immediate family, whether or not we're a son or a daughter or a husband or a wife. You're a part of a work community, you're a part of a university, you're a part of a school, and there's no one else that we need to have step up and do significant things other than just yourself. Play your part in your family. Forgive when forgiveness is needed. Give grace when grace is required. And I think those are the types of things, hopefully, that you feel after you watch this film. And like I said, I think because if we do start to live those things out, I've said this, I think that revival can take place in two ways here in the Western world. It'll either take place through persecution or it'll take place through the family. And hopefully you feel that after you watch this film here tonight.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Let's watch the movie.
Before we say that, I just feel like I need to reset a narrative. Guys, it's not that great, okay? The film, it's not that good. Set your expectations
He's wrong.
low.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you again for being with us. Enjoy the show.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you later.